AITA for leaving my parents' house after they invited my ex to Thanksgiving? I live about 4 hours away from my parents, so I don't see them that often. Quite frankly, I don't mind being away from them for tons of reasons that are a little too personal for me to share. Driving all the way there was already exhausting, so I just wanted to settle in and get ready for dinner. First thing that happens was I recognized a car that I hadn't seen in a while, 2 months. It was my ex's car, parked right there in the driveway next to my mother's car. A little backstory. My ex and I broke up when I found out he cheated on me with 2 of my close friends for a good portion of our relationship, 2 out of the 4 years. I moved taking all of my things and my cat. Just left without a word to anyone. You have to understand I was completely devastated and I thought he was the one. Anyways, I pull up and see his car. Knowing that he was inside, I went anyways to see my parents. When I go inside, I call for my mother, trying to limit the amount of times I see my ex. My mother comes immediately and gives me a hug. I ask her if she could step outside to talk. Wrong choice. I ask her why my ex is here and she responds with, "I invited him. His parents are out of town and he didn't have a place to go for dinner." Completely blown away that she did that, since she knew the reason behind why we broke it off. Stunned, I ask her to make me a plate and that I was just going to stay a hotel. She flips out and looks at me dumbfounded. Meanwhile, my ex just happens to smoke a cigarette. Just my mother finally agrees to make a to-go container. He outside now staring at me and not saying anything, which I was grateful for until he started to talk. He keeps saying sorry and that he was lost without me, all the bullshit cheaters say after they have been caught. My mom and dad step out with my food, so I am just ready to go. My dad stops me and tells me I am being childish for leaving and not facing up to my ex since he clearly wants forgiveness. I got so mad and yelled at all of them. I didn't even want to come. I knew some shit like this would happen, that why I am leaving. You didn't need to invite him, but you did, even after all of the betrayal he put me though. On the brink of tears, my dad calls me an asshole and I run to my car, dropping my food after stumbling down the front steps. I called some friends and they said that I should have stayed for the sake of my parents, since I was definitely being an asshole. Why should you make yourself uncomfortable for their comfort when they did you so dirty? Absolutely not. And I'd give you my blessing if you were to cut them off entirely. Parents, you put someone else, who lied and cheated, above your own child because you think you knew better. You also knew you were wrong, or you would have warned me. This person did me great damage and yet you thought nothing of that and instead prioritized your own wants. X is not entitled to my time or to be able to apologize, and regardless, that is between he and I, and your interfering shows that you are prioritizing him and yourself and completely disregarding my feelings. You have now also committed a betrayal, and it will take me a lot to come back from this. An invitation is not a royal summons. It requires your consent, and consent can be withdrawn at any time. You withdrew your consent to accept their invite when you discovered that the circumstances were not what you'd been led to believe, and so you left. Nothing assholish about declining an invitation that was extended deceptively. There's something to be said, etiquette-wise, for sticking it out when you RSVP yes, and that's probably what your not really friends are thinking about when they chastise you. It's rude to RSVP yes and then decline afterward, in the absence of a radical emergency, and the closer to the event it becomes, the ruder it is to change a yes to a no. But that goes out the window when your hosts lie to you about the conditions of the event, and you discover at the last second what the real conditions are. In this case, the lie was too big and the conditions too intolerable for you, and you were within your rights to decline once you discovered the real situation. In other words, you didn't behave in a rude fashion. An invitation is not a royal summons and consent is not just for sex.